Let's just take a quick look at 1 year out. What do you think, Andy? What do you think of the tax law?
Sure can't argue about the jobs numbers. I mean, we've got more job openings than we've ever had, 7.3 million, only a million people unemployed. We've seen the lowest unemployment rate at or below 4% for 12 consecutive months. We've seen wages go up 3% or better for 7 quarters in a row. We're now at 3.4%. The last time it was over 3% was April of 2009. So we're seeing great results in the economy. It's getting to workers. Workers' wages are up, particularly lower wage workers. Goldman came out with a report last week, said most of the wage gains have now been for blue-collar workers, and it's harder to find a blue-collar worker than it is to find a white-collar worker for the first time in decades. So I'd say we've seen real success. It's been very, very positive for the American people.
Congressman Crowley, what do you think?
Well, I think the hype of the tax bill is starting to really show it's fading. We saw the jobs numbers for the last month were severely lower than expectations. And so I think the more that people learn about what is in this tax bill, the more they're not going to like it.
You know, let's turn our focus a little bit to the new proposals that are being put out there. And Congressman Crowley, this is the first time we've spoken with you since your district was taken over by AOC. But there have been a lot of different new plans that are out there, a wealth tax plan, all kinds of other proposals that have been put out. Do you think that those will be helpful, or will they hurt the economy?
Well, I think clearly in terms of the bill that was passed while I was a member of the House, that bill that was passed with no hearings, with no real discussion with Democrats, and now Democrats have flipped. Despite the loss of my district to me, I was replaced by another Democrat. It's the districts where Democrats actually took seats from Republicans, many of whom had voted for this tax bill, that we saw the difference in terms of who's now controlling Congress.
That's why you think Republicans lost the House?
I think some of those districts were lost because of that. I think there were a number of reasons, a lot of reasons for that, not the least of which the president himself and the way in which he's running the government. But I do think that was an impact in this election. We saw that in New Jersey in particular. If you look at some of those districts in New Jersey,
those are a lot of districts that are definitely facing higher taxes on an individual level.
Correct, and that's why
the salt, right?
Yeah, the SALT provisions. So I do think that it had an impact on the election, and I think that's what's important to note as well. I think moving forward, what Democrats will do is will expose just how the bill was passed in the first place, in the dark of night with no hearings. And I don't think that's how legislation should be passed. I think there are some certainly good aspects to the bill to the middle class, but overall, it's not the way in which law should be passed, certainly not tax policy.
Congressman, you used to come in the office. I always liked you, but although we used to argue about some stuff, I never knew how much I really did love you, though. I didn't know how much I would miss you. And think what a great guy, wonderful, maybe a little.
Joe, is this being recorded? Because I want to show this to my wife later today.
Are you done?
Am I done? Look, I'm 56. I'm sorry. Just 2 days ago, I turned 57. I hope I'm not done. I don't know yet.
What about that district? I mean, I've heard she could be a one-shot phenomenon. Well, I mean, it's wacky. And I'm going to get in trouble for saying that, but I don't know. Would you ever think about primarying her?
I wish her well. I wish her well because my constituents, my former constituents, their lives and their futures are at stake. I think the country's at stake as well.
We don't hear Democrats saying that about Trump. I wish him well because the country's dependent on that.
You know what I do wish? I do wish the president, I wish she would do well. I wish she would do better. I think that we're a better nation.
There are some things going pretty well, but
we're a better nation.
Just talked about.
We're a better nation than what the president has portrayed this nation as.
Because of the tweets and everything. But there are, in terms of real results, there are some good things happening, Andy.
Well, this is the Democrats' position. I think they're going out to people and saying, who are you going to believe, us or your wallets? I mean, people are making a lot more money. The tax bill was hugely beneficial to people. And, in many senses, I'm sorry that Congressman Crowley lost. In the other sense, I'm glad as could be that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is in office because she's proving, she takes everything that Republicans were saying about Democrats and progressives and is proving that it's all true. I mean, I think she's probably she's been called the secret weapon for 2020, and I think she may well be the secret weapon.
Hey, Andy, to Joe's point, there are a lot of districts in some of the blue states where they were adversely impacted by the SALT changes. You can look at New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, a lot of places where some of the consumers are being hurt by the tax law changes. What do you say to that?
I'd say, first of all, the people that complain about the SALT deduction going away are often people who say, oh my God, tax cuts, loopholes for the rich, tax cuts for the rich. Well, this was a loophole for the rich. I mean, rich people took advantage. You had to itemize your deductions to take advantage of the SALT deduction. So this is a loophole that people who want to reduce loopholes for the rich shouldn't complain about at all, number one. And number two, people have a choice about where they live. You don't have to live in a high tax state. And in fact, if you're wealthy enough to be paying the SALT deduction, you can easily
Not really. I mean, you're probably
the
talking
governor,
about 250, 500,000, and with real estate taxes being so high in some of those places. Obviously, it's an argument for those states getting their budgets in order, but I don't think a lot of those people who were hit by that are actually people who can be mobile and just pick up and move.
It's true, but it's Governor Cuomo who said, you know, we lost $2.3 billion in revenue over 2 months. The problem is people are moving to Florida. Tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich. God forbid they leave. Well, they will leave. You know, that's exactly what happens.
Joe, what do you say to that?
Well, I think that was part of the plan. I think the reality is that there are an awful lot of folks who are in the middle class who are actually going to be squeezed by this as well. May call them wealthy. They're not really wealthy in New York and places like that. And so I think the impact here will be devastating in many respects to some of these states, New York, New Jersey.
How will these states address it?
Well, that remains to be seen. The legislatures themselves are trying to find ways to carve out around it. But to call this a loophole, something that was in the law for over a century, is kind of interesting to say the least. This was, you know, really is going to have an impact. I already talked to people who talk about moving to Florida so they can avoid all state and local taxes. Have their residence part of the year and up to 179 days in cities like New York and elsewhere.
Why wouldn't they do that? I don't understand. What is wrong with that? Their income is not a dispensation from government. It's their income.
But why change the law in a way in which they would have that effect, the purposeful effect, to have people move from one state to another?
Eliminate a loophole. It might have been 100 years old, but it's a loophole.
Joe, 2020 presidential endorsement. Give it to me. Just give it to me.
My endorsement? Oh my gosh, I got so many. I love them all. I love Beto. I love.
You love Beto?
I love Joe. I love Beto. He's a great man. I think Timmy Ryan's a guy to look out for. I think Joe Biden.
Okay.
I think Kamala Harris. I think there are a lot of great people in there.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Congressman.
Amy Klobuchar.
Andy, thank you so much for coming in.
My pleasure. Good to be here.
Congressman Crowley, thank you.
Thank you.